Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Robert Phoenix broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg. What's going on? What's happening? How are things out there, in there, all around there? It is the third day of October, and we are rapidly racing towards the end of 2019. Wow. Wow is all I can say about the time and the progression and kind of where we are with everything as we take the temperature in the boiling frog pot on a daily basis. That's what this show is about. Let's see, who do we have? We've got 1-0 Dragon. There's the sticky one. Thup 77. Good morning, Judy Justice. 1-0 Dragon. Yeah, hit the thumbs up. Hello, Anna. Good morning. I like your show title. To the point, for sure. Yep, Maury. Absolutely. There's Lisa Marie. Hey, good morning, Diana, Uncle Glenn, and Mary. Hey, we're all assembled and gathered, or at least we are in the process of it. I'm wearing black because my A's lost last night. It was not something that I was surprised by any stretch. I can't, for all of my astrological, esoteric, predictive, and prophetic acumen, I still cannot figure out why the A's consistently lose during an important game in the playoffs. They're like 1-11 in must-win games over their last 12 playoff appearances. Even last night, I tried to read the energy and the vibe of kind of a sporting event. And last night I was just watching the Tampa Bay dugout, and they were just so calm. They're so relaxed, so calm and relaxed. And I said, this is gonna be trouble for the A's tonight. Well, I have a new feature that I want to introduce to today's show. It has to do with this guy right here. I want to thank Gabriel and Barbara for creating this wonderful little piece of theme. Let's see if I can find this thing. Let me see what we got here. Let me see if I can figure this one out. Give me 1 second. So Jasper has his own theme song. So Jasper has his own theme song. I don't know if you heard that, but I'm going to try to integrate it a little bit more. I just had to play it because how many cats on YouTube have their own theme song, their own, it's like their walk-up music. In baseball, the hitters have their walk-up music. So Jasper, the astrological cat, has his own theme song. I'm gonna play this, and what I'm gonna do is I'll get a nice little graphic and everything. And I just think that, so I had kind of a rough day yesterday, and then I got this piece of music, this little jingle. My God, it made my day. Cracked me up. Anyway, yeah. So I was watching the Rays last night. I was like, man, those guys are loose. They're playing like it looks like they don't have a care in the world, and that's how they played. They played like they didn't have a care in the world. They were the looser team, and they won. So I am wearing black today. I am wearing. So the title of today's show is called Bullshit, and I'm probably sure that you know why I'm referencing bullshit. It has to do with one of the epic tweets of all time. And it was Donald Trump's tweet from yesterday. If you haven't seen it, let me bring it to your attention. I actually think it's a pretty important tweet in a lot of ways. And somebody I don't know what Trump did to wake up and smell the coffee, but it feels like he's finally figuring out that he's in for the fight of his life here. And here's the aforementioned tweet. The do-nothing Democrats should be focused on building up our country, not wasting everyone's time and energy on bullshit. Now you have to wonder why. This is rhetorical. Why Middle America and why Middle America responded to Trump and why Trump got elected. It's just that sentence and the inclusion of one word, bullshit. There's never been a president, for better or worse, like Trump. First of all, he took to Twitter like little duck takes to water. I mean, he found Twitter. Twitter has been his hammer. And then to speak directly to the people. This is why Trump doesn't, I mean, he'll have a few press conferences every now and then, but I think he's sort of suspended them now. And he just uses Twitter to speak directly to the people. I mean, why not? I mean, for better or worse, that's what he's got here. Not wasting everyone's time and energy on bullshit, because that's exactly what they've been doing. I have an itchy nose today. This week, last week, itchy nose. I got overwhelmingly elected in 2016. 223 to 306. Get a better candidate this time. You'll need it. So he's already involved in his campaign. He's already campaigning in advance of the election. But whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he is, I think he's very complex. I think he's a complex guy. I think the situation is complex. I don't agree with the whole, hot and horny 5G thing. Not into it. He spent, and to understand why Trump has made Israel great again, you have to understand that Sheldon Adelson contributed a ton of money to Trump and his campaign. And I believe that he might have been even involved in part of the bailout with Trump back in the 90s when he declared bankruptcy. So he might owe Sheldon Adelson. And Sheldon Adelson, my God, I just have the itchiest nose today. My apologies. I'm not picking. I just got this. He's anyway. So he's beholden to Sheldon Adelson. And Adelson was hammering Trump pretty hard to move the consulate, the embassy, to Jerusalem, and thus recognizing that Jerusalem was the capital now of Israel. Why does the United States have to do that? Why can't Israel just like move? It's like, hey, this is it. This is where we're going to run everything. I guess it's because it was, it's in Palestine theoretically, right? And they're not really allowed to do that because that is the Palestinian territory. So they're not going to set it up. But the United States did or could. Then I guess there's this sense of legitimacy. But I think a lot of the Israel First stuff comes through Sheldon Adelson. And, Trump, like any other president, has favors that he has to abide by, promises he has to keep. The only time that didn't happen was with the Kennedys or JFK, and look where that got him. He broke a lot of his promises. And 6 feet down. 6 feet down. Anyway, so Trump has had to do this. He's had to forge this relationship with Israel and the Zionists. And look, I am vehemently opposed to the intervention of any third party, whether it's Israel or Russia or China. I'm vehemently opposed to that influence and that infiltration. I just am. Okay, so let me just be clear about that. And at the same time, we're kind of in a war. Not even kind of. I mean, we're in a war. We're in a soft war, soft civil war. It's been going on. We've gone from soft coup, which was the whole Russiagate thing, to a hard coup. We're witnessing a hard coup now. This is what the Democrats are trying to pull off. They're going after Trump, Pence, and Barr simultaneously with Kavanaugh. They're trying to get all four of them erased. Well, Pompeo, Trump, Pence, Pompeo, Kavanaugh. They're trying to get them all erased right now, so that they can have another member on the Supreme Court who theoretically would represent their liberal ideology and tilt the balance of power. Get a new attorney general who would start to rewrite everything. Then you want to get Pompeo out. Then you want to get Pence out, and then ultimately pave the way for Nancy Pelosi to step in, or have the rightful winner of the last election assume the White House, which would be Hillary Clinton. This is what they're trying to do. And again, I'm not sitting here as some, sort of, pro-MAGA, pro-Republican. I'm just telling you, this is what's going on. This is how the game is unfolding. And so when you're in a situation like that, well, like Trump has been and is now, it's very precarious because, number one, you want to stay in power. And you're not going to abdicate power. You don't want to do that. You've got to maintain. You've got to maintain your power. You've got to maintain your position, and it's vital. It's vital. It's vital for the individual. In this case, it's also vital for the country. It's like this guy was elected. Okay, he was elected. If there was any interfering involved, it wasn't Russia. It was probably Israel. If you look at what happened with Seth Rich and the WikiLeaks stuff and the DNC, Seth Rich, again, I've gone down that rabbit hole. He went to Israel for kibbutz. It's very strong ties to Zionist, Likud, Israel, and I'm assuming that he might have been either at the very least a Zionim who would do duty for the state of Israel when called upon, or may have even been Mossad. And I don't think he's dead. I don't think Seth Rich is dead. But he was inserted. He was inserted into the DNC. He got a job. He got the keys to the servers, and then he opened them up, right? And then sent the material through WikiLeaks. So if anybody or any country was influencing the 2016 election, it was probably Israel more than Russia. That's not going to get talked about. And by eliminating Seth Rich, or theoretically eliminating him, dead men tell no tales, right? He could go in, he could do his thing, he could dump the information, and then have a strange event or strange encounter, and then be eliminated, and then poof, there he goes. And then there's that weird video with his parents and his brother, just very strange stuff. So I think he's probably still alive, but I do think that he was inserted into the DNC to do exactly what he did, and then tilt the balance of power in that election. Okay, but this is what's going on right now. We are in the process of experiencing, for all intents and purposes, a hard coup. And if you don't see it, you're not paying attention. And some people will say, well, Trump is just an actor and he's just playing a role in the part. And well, who isn't? Who isn't an actor? Who isn't playing a role? Who isn't playing a part? We all are to some extent. Does that mean that he's just, running a reality show in the White House? I think the guy is fighting. Who would set themselves up for 2.5 years of just utter abuse? Who would do that? You either have to be so egomaniacal and that it didn't matter, right? You just have to be so egomaniacal that you would just soak it all up no matter what. And that's a possibility. or you would be theoretically committed to whatever it is that you were doing, and as a result, you would take the abuse, because at the end of the day, you would have some kind of buy-in and moral responsibility. And I think Trump is a complex character, and I think he has some of those things. I also think he's deeply compromised. I think he's done things in his past that have put him at risk by being blackmailed or extorted by other people. And I think you could go back to the stuff that happened with the bankruptcies, and you could go back and look at maybe some of the stuff that he had go on with Roy Cohn, you know, very sketchy character. So there's, Jasper is in a mood today, man. I think it's the song. When he heard it, he was like, I think it might have gone to his head. I think that song made Jasper a little more, he already has a big head. I think he just got a little bigger. Anyway, but here he is, right? He's fighting for his life. This guy is fighting for his political life. And in many ways, he's fighting for the life of this country. And people will say, oh my God, he's terrible. He's this. Look, what are you going to do at this point? I mean, we are deeply embedded in the political game. The economy, the Dow was down 550 points last night. The instability, even though the Dow is run by algorithms and stuff like that, there are market trends, and the market trends are reflective in stability and instability. And if the overall picture of the country is unstable, the market will reflect that. It'll reflect the instability, because deals can't get done. Trump can't get on the phone and call. This is the other thing too. Now, if he picks up a phone, who's going to want to talk to Trump? If you're a leader of a foreign country, who's going to want to talk to you? Because there's a really good chance that your conversation is going to be either taped, listened to, taped. It's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. So he's fighting for his life. And what's the alternative here? What is the alternative? Are you gonna, and it's unfortunate that we've been forced into kind of these like hardcore choices, but what's the alternative at this point? Are you going to stand by people like Adam Schiff, who is just Adam Schiff is ruthless, and not in a good way? Are you going to stand by people like Nancy Pelosi and Cory Booker and Kamala Harris? I mean, this is what we're staring down. And Elizabeth Warren is a soft version of that. And I just saw this video of her where she was in Nevada, Reno, at the airport, and she was confronted by a bunch of Trump people, and they were doxing her about the impeachment, and she's just strolling along with her, little travel bag. It's just the world is filled right now with contemptible bullshit. Contemptible bullshit. And that's why that tweet was so important, because he's just calling it as he sees it. So Trump he's had to buddy up and have these relationships with these very rich, very powerful, mostly Jewish oligarchs, like the Mercer family and Sheldon Adelson and a bunch of Goldman Sachs people. He's had to develop a relationship with Israel and Bibi and AIPAC, because that's where he's going to get his muscle, okay? It's just how the game is played. It's how if you're going to be the front man for an organization or the front man for a movement, you got to have a bunch of really powerful, rich people. When I say powerful, it's not always about money. It's about things like wielding influence, having access to emerging technologies, all those things that go along with power. You got to have that, because the other side is powered up as well. And, ultimately, are they both part of the same side? Yeah, possibly. But right now, look at the alternatives. Look at the alternatives. Look at the people that every single day have done everything in their power to keep this guy from being president. every single day. And he's not perfect. He's made mistakes. You know, he's not a politician. He is not a politician. You know, maybe if somehow we have an election and he's reelected, maybe he could actually do something. But they're terrified. They're terrified of him. They don't want him to win again because they know there's probably a pretty good chance that he'll win again. I mean, look at who they're dishing up. And even if they call Hillary Clinton off the bench, you know, the avenging angel, I still don't think that, I don't think she can make it through another electoral season. I don't think there's enough adrenochrome in the distribution chain to keep her going. That's my sense. But if they can have Trump fighting an impeachment hearing while he's supposed to be campaigning, oh, yeah, there's your strategy. Let's not even let him campaign. Let's not even let him get out there. This is what we're seeing right now. And the word is bullshit. And Trump is absolutely right. It's total bullshit. Total bullshit. And this is, I saw this press conference he did yesterday, and he had the president of Finland there, and he was, you know, they were talking, and the media just went after him like jackals. Everything now that is presented to him vis-a-vis the media, these press conferences, they're just you know, tearing into him, trying to, you know, find inconsistencies. And, you know, I mean, I've never seen anything like this. By the way, Obama had very few press conferences. Very, very few. Very few. I you know, and the only time he gave a speech or some kind of a public statement was usually after some young black male was killed somewhere in the inner city, and treating it like it was a rare and contemptuous event. It happens every day, and it's a sad state of affairs, but it happens every day. But under Obama, they decided to lionize these victims and turn them into martyrs, which is part of the fuel for the ideology behind Marxism and Bolshevism. They love to have martyrs. They love the martyr. The martyr is the fuel, the ideological fuel. So-and-so died for this. Let's remember so-and-so. We're always having certain days to remember the so-and-sos. And that's what happens. So Trump is waking up. I think he's finally waking up, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens and how he navigates this whole thing. You know, at the end of the day, I mean, he has the right to do certain things as a president with Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is on the Intelligence Committee. He heads the Intelligence Committee. So the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, they've all got to, you know, kind of answer to Adam Schiff. They have to report to him. I think Trump could knock him off that committee like that, and he should. He should. He's in a position now where if he does something like that, that it would be considered petty, gross mismanagement of power, et cetera, et cetera. But sometimes you just got to step into the breach. You got to cut that guy off from the source. I mean, just watch these people. It boggles my mind. You know, Elijah Cummings, Nadler, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi. I mean, I find it really hard, to be honest with you. I find it really hard to wrap my head around that kind of moral perspective and moral degeneracy. I find it really hard to wrap my head around that. And look, both sides have their own version of this. I have to indict certain Republicans too. Lindsey Graham just right to the top of the chart. We had people like McCain and Ryan, the rhinos. Mitch McConnell. I mean, they've got their own kind of version of this, but the Democrats, who are really the Bolsheviks now, have just been so despicable in not caring one iota about theoretically the country and the people. They're much more invested in just tearing down Donald Trump. And there's this idea and theory that it's not Trump that they're really angry and upset with, although he's a pinata for a lot of their rage. But it's the people behind Trump and Trump's supporters and Trump's community that this is really the end game, so to speak, for the left and for the new Bolsheviks. That's the end game. And the end game is to eliminate that base. And what's interesting is that if you step out, let's say you're on the left, if you step out and criticize somebody on the left, or if you're in the left and you criticize your own party, you better be ready to pay the price. I'm going to read you an article here, and this is about Michael Moore. You got to check this out. You remember when I talked about how I lived in Oakland and they had the commie thrift store in Oakland, basically a communist cell is what it was. It was a CP USA cell that had a storefront, and to this day has a fairly successful business making pies and reselling goods and all that stuff. And they gave me their newspaper, The Burning Spear. I've told this story before. And when somebody in that group or that community did not do what they were told to do, or do it in the way that they were told to do it, they were excoriated in their little newspaper. And not just once, but I saw at least 2 or 3 articles that were just hammering and shaming this one couple who stepped outside the party lines. So I'm going to read you another version of this. And Michael Moore, who has been a darling of the so-called left, is now experiencing the same thing. So this is just from 2 days ago. Liberal Twitter torches Michael Moore for comments about Biden. Twitter was ablaze with criticism after filmmaker Michael Moore compared Joe Biden to failed Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. Moore, 65, known for his liberal activism and documentary films, appeared Tuesday as a guest on MSNBC's The Beat with Ari Melber, where the host asked about his views on Joe Biden and how well the Democratic frontrunner was handling recent controversy involving Ukraine and his son, which Trump is talking about, and the mainstream media will not address at all. They won't cover it because they know that Biden is dirty, his son is dirty, Biden's been dirty for years. What do you expect from a guy who's been a senator from a state that is basically comprised of P.O. boxes? He's a senator from Delaware. Delaware is a state where companies incorporate and have tax breaks. You can drive through Delaware, blink and miss it. Okay, that's his state, and the only reason it's an important state is because of incorporation. So it's a bunch of P.O. boxes. Anyway, Moore said that he didn't think Biden was going to excite the Democratic base, citing the younger demographic who is expected to vote in the 2020 elections. Joe Biden is the center. Joe Biden is this year's Hillary, Moore said, drawing blowback on social media. Here's what the left has to say. Users were not coy about their dissatisfaction with Moore, his ideas. The networks would bring him on as a guest. Here's Sean Kent comedy. Turns on at the beat with Ari. Sees Michael Moore as a guest. Turns off at the beat with Ari. Ooh, isn't that cool? Every once in a while, I think is there anyone as useless as Rudy Giuliani? And then I'm reminded that Michael Moore still walks the earth. Wow. This is how the left will turn on themselves. They will eat each other. Hawaii Delilah. Look, she's trademarked her name, Hawaii Delilah. Just in case any of you were hoping to use Hawaii Delilah in your Twitter feed and or any products, I'm afraid you cannot do that now because she has TM'd her name. Good God, at MSNBC, can you please spare me Michael Moore bashing Biden and claiming he won't excite the base? I am the base. I am for Warren. If Biden is the nominee, I will be excited for him. We're not doing 2016 again with this excitement bullshit. Fuck that, seriously. We have anti-Semite. Could you trademark that as well? I was going to watch at R.E. Melber, but not if he's interviewing Assange pal, Michael Moore. Someone let me know if Ari asked Moore why he visited Assange the same day of the Trump Tower meeting, and the same day Sanders rejected Obama's request to concede. Was Moore checking on HRC dirt? By the way, Bernie Sanders had a heart attack. What about that? He's had to suspend his campaigning. I bet he got really good health care. Yep, only the best. Must not be too bad right now for old Bern. He has that wonderful Washington, D.C. healthcare plan for life, including his wife as well. He's got a couple of stents in his heart now. Wow. Interesting. Very interesting moment in time there. You see what's going on? It's the same thing. Michael Moore has been a staunch supporter of the left. It's about as liberal as it gets. He's a Midwest kind of, Rust Belt liberal, a union guy. That's where Michael Moore sort of has his roots. He's from Michigan. He did a great movie actually on GM leaving Flint, Michigan called Roger and Me. And there's even some stuff in Fahrenheit 9/11 that is kind of interesting. Like that's a film that could have been a very important film, but it didn't go far enough. Like there are things in that movie that Michael Moore touches on that are part of the subtext of 9/11. There are pieces in there, but it's not the whole thing. So Michael Moore was kind of this early version of the social justice avenger, but coming out of the Midwest and the unions and the trades and that kind of whole ideology, that whole sort of political stance. But he's a dinosaur now, and if you are not supporting what the Twitterverse supports, you're done. You're gone. You cannot have a voice of dissent about the party. And this touches in with this series of experiences I had on a message board. Right around the time Trump was running for president, and there's these guys who live in the Bay Area mostly, who are basketball fans. Almost all of them, I'd say, in fact, all of them, Democrats. Most of them are Jewish and very well educated, either lawyers or commercial real estate people. And, some of them I actually hung out with and had dinner with. I mean, these are guys that I shared a common love for basketball and the Golden State Warriors, even when they were losers. And we would I'll never forget at one time, we used to go to this place called Ricky's in just outside of Oakland. It's kind of right on the edge of like Oakland, San Leandro area, and a famous sports bar. Actually really good wings at Ricky's. And we would go there every year when they would have the NBA draft. And there'd only be about 8 or 9 of us, but it was cool, right? It was like getting offline, meeting up. Hey, how's it going? And almost all these guys are really good guys. Even the ones that I thought were just frozen between the ears with their ideology. So we're sitting there, we're watching the draft, and one of the guys who's always a part of our experience, he comes late, and he comes with his girlfriend. Well, we thought it was his girlfriend, but we quickly found out that it happened to be his new wife. And I love this guy. His name was the Captain. And I did an interview with him a long time ago back on Spreaker. Back on Blog Talk. And he was dying. And so I had an interview with him, and we were talking about, anyway, I'll get to that part. So we're at the restaurant, we're watching the draft. He shows up, and then the Warriors had made their final pick of the first round of the draft, or whatever. And he stands up and he says, I have an announcement. He says, I've been diagnosed with liver cancer, and I probably have about 6 months to live. And the room just went silent. And the air just went out of that room. It was really, very, very intense in a lot of ways. Nobody knew what to say. And oh, by the way, I just got married. And this is my wife, da 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 da. And it's like, wow. But what's really cool though, was that group rallied around him. And they had parties for him or attended his parties. And I went to a couple of gatherings, get-togethers at his place in Santa Cruz. So they actually rallied around him as he was, pushing off to the far shore. But that group was dyed in the wool and just so locked in to their left-leaning ideology, which I talked about before. And if you question that, any part of it, you're basically besmirching the party, and you're diluting the power and the allegiance to the party and the ideology of the party. And I didn't really understand this because that's not how I'm wired. I'm not wired that way. I'm way too much of an outsider. So if I see something that doesn't smell right or feel right or look right, I'll say something about it. Or at the very least, I'll have thoughts about it that make me have a different opinion or perspective or point of view. I don't understand this mindset. I don't understand this mindset from Hawaii Delilah. I don't get it. I guess it's a strength in numbers kind of mentality. What does Coco have to say? Michael Moore said, Biden won't excite the base. So from an old country girl, let me tell you, anyone with a D behind their name excites this base. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't understand it. That's why I hadn't voted for almost 30 years. Regardless of preferences, I'd walk through hell and half of GA, I guess that's Georgia, to vote for the nominee. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. We have Coco the Great, Kokomo the Great. And we have Hawaii Delilah TM and the anti-Semite. New rule, any TV host who books that ass clown, Michael Moore, automatically gets their show canceled. Moore and his dishonest bullshit over the past few years have done more to put Trump and the GOP in power than anyone else on this planet. Whoa. Michael Moore hates Donald Trump. He hates Donald Trump. But you see the ideology at work there? I mean, they will devour themselves. No wonder this idea of cannibalism as the new diet is popular. Because that's exactly what the left does. That's what the Democrats do. They just devour each other. If you deviate, if you bring something up that they don't like, or it might be contrary to the program, look out, man. You're history. You are history. And Michael Moore, for all of his pugnacious bluster, I'm sure is a very sensitive guy on some level. You know, I'm sure he's sensitive. So when he reads criticisms like this, how does it make him feel? Like a dinosaur, like an anachronism? I mean, personally, if that was me, and I put all my time and effort into being a Democrat and a good left-leaning liberal, and I had that much blowback, I'd really have to consider why I did what I did, why I was involved with what I was involved with, because that would be just kind of a soul-shaking, spirit-numbing moment to watch these people just turn on you, just like that. It sort of reminds me of crucifixion in some ways, like he's being crucified. So Michael Moore is playing the role of the scapegoat right now. And all these people, they don't want criticism. They don't want enlightenment. They don't want objective, fact-finding analysis. Basically saying, look, Joe Biden is a doddering old man. He's got no snap, crackle, and pop. If you want somebody who's going to beat Trump, you're going to have to find somebody who's got some juice, right? That's what he was saying. And they just shouted him down. It's like, hey, get off my lawn, old guy. We don't need you. You're a traitor. You know, again, for all of his warts, I'm sure he has many warts. And I'm not a Michael Moore fan. I just want to be clear about that. But I'm trying to be objective to the best of my ability. And if you go back and you watch election night, which I have, rewatch it from 2016, Michael Moore had said that if Trump wins, the reason he'll win is because of states like Michigan and Ohio and Indiana and Pennsylvania. Those are the four big states. And basically, those people who are angry and pissed off that their economies went to hell, they lost their jobs, manufacturing got outsourced, a lot of angry people. He says they are going to go to the ballot box and they're going to vote their anger. And he called it. Michael Moore called it. He knew what was going to happen because he was in tune with those people. And he said, this is what's going to happen. Here's how Trump is going to win. He's one of the few people that understood it. And again, I'm not here as a Michael Moore apologist, but people don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear the truth. The Democratic Party abandoned the Midwest. For all their unionized bullshit, when companies decided to open plants in Mexico or relocate to China, the left just took their money, took their lobby money, took their campaign money, pinched their nose and looked the other way. And that's what happened. You had a bunch of people who were abandoned and pissed off. And that's how they voted. That's how it worked. But they don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear truth. You know, all they want to do is just amass energy like some battering ram and use that battering ram energy to just smash everything that has happened over the last 2 years. But this is more than just the last 2 years. We're talking about a complete and utter remake of the entire system. And some people may think that that's a good thing. It may be inevitable, to be honest with you. But if you want to look at what the new system would look like, look no further, look at China. With their social credit system, that's the new system, at least in that version from that side. Okay, let me check in with you guys and just see where you're at. What's going on in Chatlandia? Let's see, what do we have here? I remember Mike Moore saying that. Sorry, Lane Staley was letting me listening to, Alice in Chains. Ended up crying again. What a waste. Lane Staley had an amazing voice. Wow. When you account for Democrat, California election, Robert, 3 million illegal dead voters, Trump won. I agree, Paulette, totally. I think you'd also have to look at Nevada as well for some of those stolen votes. They turn on each other to create fear for the rest. That's true, Lynn. That's true. That's exactly part of the socialist program right out of the bullshit playbook. Yeah, that was funny when Michael Moore told all what the salty earth working class was going to do. It's true. And they didn't want it. They didn't want to listen to it. Jasper the alley cat, come on down. Authority is not legitimate ever. To vote is to endorse your own slavery. There is some truth to that. And there is another side of voting as well. If you live in a particular area, like a local area, there are local issues and there are local people that influence how things go down in your area. So voting in your local area or your local district, I think, can be very important. Although it is not a guarantee that if you vote for the right person, that person will actually take an elected seat. So to your point, Christine, even when it is an important act to participate on a local level, doesn't always guarantee that the winner will be actually victorious. And we've seen this again and again. There's a woman in Austin, Laura Presley, very interesting woman. She came out here to speak in Fredericksburg, and she was in a district that was exceedingly pro her demographic, which was mostly on the slightly conservative side, definitely on the Christian side, a lot of churches in her demographic. And she was a woman, and Laura had great polling numbers, and the Democrats brought in a candidate at the last minute, and he beat her. And she fought that. And she fought it all the way to the state Supreme Court of Texas. And all the lower courts ruled against her and penalized her, fined her onerous amounts of money until she finally took it to the next level and did the Supreme Court thing, and she won. And basically the Supreme Court said, yeah, it was voter fraud. And that's what Laura was fighting against, was voter fraud. And she found out how they did it. And it was through the software. So even when you do vote locally in some cities, that's a city. That's a city. It may not always be, may not always count in the end. They get lost in the wash. But in a smaller town like Fredericksburg, where we still have paper ballots, it's probably not a bad idea to get involved. And if there are certain people that are going to be either pro Agenda 21 or pro Agenda 2030, you just gotta vote them out. You got to vote them out, and hopefully there's other candidates that can displace them and have a much better plan or vision moving forward. So, yeah, it's a very weird time, and there may be a time where we won't vote. To be honest with you, or to be frank with you, there may be a time where we won't vote. That could be in our near future. So you may as well, even if you don't believe in it, you may as well exercise it while you can, at the very least. So I got a lot of really good comments about the comedy stuff. People enjoyed the kind of the trip back in time and reliving some of the comedic moments. People had made people laugh. People that were funny. Somebody said that Jonathan Winters was the best, or he was very interesting. He was very interesting. He was very creative, very out there. He was a guy that was bordering on mental illness, by the way. And he even talked about it. He was like borderline schizophrenia. But he was still funny, and he had humor that, of course, didn't really hurt anyone, which is unlike today's humor. What's also, this is just a little aside. I go to Yahoo every now and then, And I only go there because I go into the sports section. But I look at the stories that are listed on Yahoo and they're contemptible. And the reason they're contemptible is because we live in this culture now. And I would call it the burn culture, and not burn as in Bernie, but the BURN, the burn culture. That's a term, by the way, that kids use. Ooh, you got burned. So and so burned you. It's incredibly adolescent. But this is a terminology that shows up on the Yahoo feeds a lot of the time. And their stories or programming, which is what it is all about Schadenfreude. You know, was it 3 Minutes of Hate, or whatever the time frame in Orwell is. The 3 minute. This is kind of what our culture is de-evolving into. This is the 3 minutes of hate, and you can just see it. I bet you I can go there right now, without even knowing what's going on there. I bet you I can go to Yahoo right now and find you one example above the line of 3 minutes of hate, 2 minutes of hate, or whatever it is. Let's see, what do we got? Let's see. Here, this is it. It took me about 5 stories to get to it. Watch out, Washington. Tom Brady says flight home after disappointing Buffalo game sucked. Let's see, what else we have here. Late night host tackled Trump's impeachment meltdown and Gatorgate. Oh, here's a big one. Catherine McPhee recreated Kim Kardashian's iconic bikini picture from 2005. Does anybody remember Kim Kardashian's iconic bikini photo? Just weird stuff. Yeah, it's just really weird. Let's see. Meghan McCain to Hillary Clinton on The View. I got into it with Pamela Anderson. I got into it. What else do we have? Oh, this is newsworthy. Miley Cyrus says she's back in the studio and feeling inspired after split from Caitlin Carter. That's not a burn moment, but Yahoo disappointed me a little bit. Usually they have these kind of burn moments or these burn media pieces. It's the gotcha culture. It is the gotcha culture. And I was reading the message boards for the A's versus the Rays, and all the Giants fans got on the A's message board. And it was just venomous. Like, haha, fuck you. Your team sucks. You just got to wonder why we're in such dire straits in some ways, when people can't even like say, hey, good game, nice try. I hope you guys do better next year. It is just so venomous, so venomous. It's just it's not good, and it's all because some guy went over to the Giants message board and started talking shit about the Giants during the season, so they had to come back and come in and take a dump on the A's message board. It's not even in good taste or fun. And it wasn't like it was like 50-50. It was, like 90-10. And it's just for sports, just for a sporting game. It's ridiculous. We live in a culture where rage is being commodified. And it's not even like really pointed indignant, like what Trump did with the tweet. That was, I think, authentic and justifiable rage. But now we have people that just peddle in these minor moments of rage, but they happen all the time. And we're living in a society where the anger is bubbling very close to the surface, and most people are wound pretty tight. So to that end, I want to make you laugh, and I want to bring in a very how do I say this? A very un-PC piece of comedy from the 1970s, and it is the trailer or the sort of the opening show for a TV show called Fernwood Tonight. And Fernwood Tonight was a spinoff of Mary Hartman, and the executive producer of Fernwood Tonight was Norman Lear. So if you know who Norman Lear is, I believe Norman Lear is still alive, by the way. Norman Lear, it's either Norman Lear or Bud Yorkin, one of those guys is still alive. Anyway, Norman Lear and Bud Yorkin were a team, and they produced shows like, All in the Family, which is really skewing middle America, right? It was making fun of middle America. It was turning Archie Bunker into a stereotype. And Archie Bunker was the type of person that Michael Moore theoretically was defending, sort of this Rust Belt dinosaur, right? But it was just one show. There was a bunch of other shows, Sanford and Son. I mean, Yorkin and Lear, Norman Lear and Bud Yorkin were on a roll during the 1970s. Well, Fernwood Tonight was a show that was produced by Norman Lear. You have to understand that Norman Lear is also Jewish. Okay, so this is a big part of this little piece I'm about to show you. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And Fernwood Tonight starred Martin Mull and Jerry Willard. The idea is that it was a talk show on a local access or small station in Fernwood, Ohio. And they would bring guests on who were part of the town. And for 2 years, Fernwood Tonight was the funniest show on television. And then it had a brief hiatus and it came back as America Tonight and then for one season. But this is the opening show. And there's a segment on the show and it's called Meet a Jew. And it's just funny as hell. Again, you have to understand that the producer of the show is Norman Lear. And after they aired this piece, all these groups came in and said that it was in poor taste, insensitive. The ADL actually came in and said it was the funniest thing they had ever seen. Okay. So, but this was the ADL in the 1970s. It's not the ADLs now. But you could not do this now. You could not actually produce this piece now because everybody would just get triggered. But let's just take a little trip back to the 1970s for a moment and have a moment here of comedy. Not just any comedy, but comedy that is, let me cue this up. Comedy that is politically incorrect and quite funny. So from 1976, here is about a 5-minute episode of Fernwood Tonight, and the skit here is Talk to a Jew. Here we go. Oh, let me do the re-screen share again here. There's certain protocols I have to have. A little comic relief.
Thanks, Hap. You know, I'm especially glad to have our next guest with us. I don't know if you know this gentleman. I really don't know what to say about him myself. This particular guest, except to tell you that he's Jewish. And in fact, he's a speeding Jew, actually. He was going through town this afternoon, about 5 to 10 miles over the limit. Nothing great, but that's still over the limit. He got picked up, and, well, the rest is history. So I'd like you to meet, please, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Morton Rose. that seat's all right. I'm not sure what you're used to. Welcome very, very, very much, Morton. I guess it was just our luck that you were stopped today as you were driving through town, and it was the police chief's idea, and a pretty good one, I think, in fact, to have you on the show because, well, it occurred to him that many Fernwooders or Fernwoodians or Fernies, whatever they're calling themselves these days, have actually never seen a real live Jew before, and I think as your troubled, though very nice people know, it's just this kind of, I don't know, ignorance that often breeds contempt and prejudice and stereotyping, and I think we can help stop some of that by just letting them see you and see what you're all about.
That's true, Barth, yes.
Yeah, and I think it's a service to let people know that you actually are, which I say, harmless and just like everyone else. And I think right now we can put an end to a stereotype because, as you can see, he's completely normal looking. You look just like the rest of us. It's as plain as the nose on your face.
That's right. I'm just a regular guy.
Okay. Morton, let's start right out the top here. Where do you work?
Hidden Acres Real Estate.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, you own it.
I'm a file clerk.
Sorry. It's a surprise.
May I ask you, why didn't you become a lawyer or a doctor like most of your other Jewish people?
My family was poor and they couldn't afford to send me to school.
Your family was poor?
Uh-huh.
Are you sure you're Jewish? Could have been a mix-up at the hospital.
Of course he's Jewish, Jer. Tell me, Morty, if I may, do you have a family?
Yes, I have a boy and a girl.
One each.
Yeah, it's amazing, really. I think this is quite an education for any Fernwoodians who may have never seen a Jew.
Yeah. You've met Jews yourself before, though, haven't you?
Definitely, yes. I've talked with them. I've had dinner with them. You name it. I know them inside and out, definitely. What tribe are you from, Mr. Rose?
What tribe?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm originally from Toledo.
Our phone lines are open now in case any of you have never had the pleasure and would like to talk to a Jewish person. We invite you to call us at 555-5624. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and dial 555-5624. Our lines are open. This should be fun.
That's how they are in Fernwood. You ask them to call, and they call.
Yeah, someone was sitting right on the phone there. That's great. Hello, talk to a Jew. You're on the air.
Is this the Jew?
No way. No, this is Barth Gimbel. The Jew is sitting beside me to my right. Would you like to talk to him?
No, it's okay. I'll talk to you, and you can give him this message.
Gladly.
I'd like to know when Barbara Streisand's next movie will be out.
Okay, you heard that over the speaker here, so okay, you can go right ahead.
Well, I don't know, but I'd like to see it myself, though. I think she's very good.
You must be very proud of her.
Yes, I am.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, dear. Oh, boy, this is popular. Hello, talk to a Jew. You're on the air.
I'd like to know why Mr. Rose isn't wearing a beanie.
You heard the question? It's about the alleged beanie,
Well,
whatever she's referring
I think the caller's referring to the yarmulke that's usually worn on the head by very religious Jews or when we're in the synagogue.
And it's when you're in the synagogue that you wear the ones without the propeller?
Jerry.
I think those hats are just darling, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, dear. So long. I guess we won't take any more here. That's plenty to start the ball rolling. I'm happy to hear our audience really liked the Talk to a Jew segment so much.
It's a popular thing.
I think so. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. Morton, really, thank you very much for making that possible and for being the very Jew we had on the show. I appreciate that very much.
So it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Be happy to come back to Fernwood someday.
I don't think that'd be necessary. Actually, we'll be right back after these important words. Stay with us, okay?
All right, so pure, uncut, unadulterated comedy from the 1970s. And, you know, I think what Norman Lear, and by the way, what's his name? Robin Thicke. Alan Thicke, Thick of the Night. Robin Thicke's dad was a writer for that show. And what they were trying to do is they were trying to, of course, showcase the fact that these people from a small town in Ohio were just kind of, ignorant and bumpkins. And that as they were trying to kind of reach out and have this odd multicultural moment, it was incredibly awkward and comical. And so in some ways parodying the culture of the Midwest. Right. I mean, that's what was really going on at a certain level. But at another level, right, it's just hilarious because it really pushed people's boundaries about what comedy theoretically could be. And you could not do that today. You could not do that today. That skit would not be admissible today. It'd be considered anti-Semitic and hateful. But there's nuances inside of there that if you're really paying attention, you would kind of get it, right? But on the other hand, it's also, on another level, completely politically incorrect. But it's a little bit of humor, and I thought I'd just share that with you. And maybe one of these days I could have my own Speak to a Jew segment. That might be interesting. I have a few in mind who I think could be really good guests, and we can get to know them a little bit better, right? So there we go, a little time capsule there. All right, thank you all. I appreciate you being here. Let's see, I wasn't surprised they didn't run a new season for Propeller, the beanie, right? Isn't that funny? The beanie stuff was hilarious. How come you have a little propeller on there? Classic stuff. By the way, you cannot find the Fernwood Tonight Show on TV on YouTube anymore. I was just able to find that one skit, a few others. All right, thank you everybody for being a part of today's show. Now, normally tomorrow I'd have the Crimmies on, but that's not going to happen. And it looks like Derek Bros is too busy to do an interview tomorrow. He's just got too much on his plate. And quite frankly, I got a lot on my plate as we hurtle towards the big event here next week in the Hill Country with the Harvest Moon events. So I'm probably going to take tomorrow off from the Friday Firecast because I've got a ton of stuff to do. Anyway, with that said, I will be back on Sunday night for Sunday Night Astro Live. Thank you for having a good chuckle, and thank you for exploring some of the hot buttons and hot topics of today. And Jasper, who's no longer here, says goodbye as well. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to discern what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Have yourself a very good day.